This is the motherboard of the computer. What are all these slots and components on the motherboard for? In the center is the CPU mount. Press down on the metal handle next to it to open the bracket, then you'll see a slot. This slot is for installing the CPU. After installing the CPU, close the mounting bracket, then press down on the metal handle and fix it. The CPU is now installed. Since the CPU performs billions of operations per second, it generates a lot of heat. Therefore, it is also necessary to install a cooling fan on top of the CPU to cool it down. Next to the CPU are the memory slots. There are 4 of them. There are 4 slots of the same color in a group, forming a dual channel. Dual channel improves transfer performance. So if you have 2 memory sticks, it's best to install them in the same color slot to take advantage of the dual channel feature, since memory loses data after a power failure, so computers also need to use hard disk for durable storage. There are 2 main types of hard drives: solid-state drives and mechanical drives. Some older computers are still equipped with optical drives, but now it's basically obsolete. The SATA port on the motherboard is where the hard disk is connected. The number of ports varies from motherboard to motherboard. On the other side of the motherboard, there is another hard disk connector called the M2 connector. It is mainly used for connecting the smaller SSDs. In addition to the CPU chip, the motherboard also has its own chipset. It is the bridge between the CPU and the peripherals and determines almost all the functions of the motherboard. Like the CPU, it needs a heat sink to dissipate the heat. Coming to this side, there is a 4P connector and a 24P connector. Both connectors are connected to the power supply. The 4P connector mainly supplies power to the CPU. The 24P connector is mainly for the motherboard. There is a BIOS battery in this location. BIOS is used to initialize and detect various hardware devices during the computer boot process. Rotate the motherboard to the side, you will see a lot of interfaces. The top one is a network port, which is used to connect to a wired network. These are USB ports, which are mainly used to connect a mouse, keyboard, or other USB devices. Some mouse and keyboard ports have round holes and need to be connected to the PS2 port here. The purple one is used to connect the keyboard. The green one is for connecting a mouse. The next 3 are audio jacks. The green jacks are stereo audio outputs for connecting headphones and speakers. The pink jack is usually used for connecting a microphone. The blue jack is for audio input. It is usually used to connect external audio input signals. There are also VGA and HDMI ports, which are mainly used for connecting monitors. Let's go back to the front of the motherboard. There are also 3 PCIe slots of different sizes in this location, mainly used to install different kinds of expansion cards, such as discrete sound cards and discrete graphics cards. The most common is to install a discrete graphics card. A discrete graphics card can provide users with better graphics performance. It is important to note that there are many more slots and components on the motherboard. This video only introduces some of the more commonly used